Recently, I was watching a movie on television, and the story was about a young man that was determined that he was going to become a billionaire and own a lot of things. And he thought that was going to be important. But that's not what I remember about the movie, because we know that money is not what the success of happiness really brings. But during this particular show, he was just a hired hand on a ranch. And there were 6 total men that had been hired to put in a fence for the cows. They were all working, digging holes and tamping in the holes and stretching the barbed wire, but not as a team. And this young man, who was determined to use his head instead of his back and to realize that they were being paid by the job rather than by the hour, realized that by working as a team, where one would dig the hole, another one would place the post, another one would tamp in the dirt, and another one would help string the barbed wire, that they would work as a team. They would move much more quickly and much more efficiently. And the next hole would be ready for the post, and so on. And so it reminded me of Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 12, because church is teamwork. The laity are critical to the functioning of a church. A good church staff is a wonderful thing, and I'm very, very thankful for the wonderful staff members that I had over the years at Southside Baptist Church. However, it's not just the staff that makes the church work. It is all of the people using their gifts and talents together that makes the church work. And the same thing is true in marriage. So this passage of Scripture can be applied not only to the church, not only to teamwork of a basketball team, football team, or one of those kind of endeavors, but it can also be applied to our marriages. Listen to what it says in Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 12. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls down, the other one is there to lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls when there is not another to lift him up. Furthermore, if 2 lie down together, they keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? And if one is overpowered by someone, who is there to help him to resist? 2 can resist him, and a cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart. During the last part of the last year, Lois and I were both incapacitated, if you will, with some problems, and thankfully they didn't come all at the same time for both of us. When I was down with a kidney stone, Lois was able to get around and do things and help me. And when Lois was down with her problems, I was there to help her. And so you can quickly see, not only in the church with everybody using their gifts and talents to make the church function, but also you can see in a marriage relationship how vitally important it is. Husbands and wives, as they're raising children, can see how important it is for there to be 2 parents, so that the children can be cared for properly. And I'm a firm believer that it's good whenever possible for the woman in the household to be able to stay home with the children, but that's not always possible in today's particular economic environment. But I do think it helps when they work as a team that way, where one is a domestic housekeeper in helping to raise the children, and one is out working. But nevertheless, we'll set that aside, because I know I'm going to offend somebody by saying those things, and you'll have to work that out for yourselves as to what you think works best for your family. Nevertheless, as I looked at this, I recognized that it is a wonderful thing to be able to work together as a team, and when one falls down, to pick up the other. And I've been very fortunate to have good staffs and good deacons in the 40 plus years of ministry now, where I could see that come to play. I also like the fact that it says it's really hard to overpower somebody when there's 2, much easier to resist. And so walking alone at night is far more dangerous than when you're walking together with somebody. This passage of scripture written by Solomon, who was given great wisdom by God, certainly says a lot. And I was reminded of the cord of three not being quickly torn apart, because recently on my trailer I had a bungee cord, and it was made up of multiple cords. And even though through wear and tear several of the cords had been cut and severed, there were still several cords that were still there in the bungee cord that were helping to hold down the things in the trailer. And when I decided that it was time to go ahead and tear the end off of the bungee cord and to redo the bungee cord so all of the cords were back in place, I had a hard time without a pair of sharp cutting pliers to cut that bungee cord, because a cord of three strands is hard to tear apart. So we find this scripture passage working quickly and easily in the church. We can see how important it is for that teamwork to be there. We can see it in the movie with the men putting in a fence post and working together as a team. We can see it in marriages. We can see it in the safety of walking in the dark nights. And we can see the wisdom of God. Now wait, I'm not finished. What about the team that includes God? Recently, I heard someone say on the internet that if you don't like the presidents, you just need to think for a minute that God allowed the last couple of presidents. So whether you liked two presidents ago, one president ago, or the current president, you can't complain too hard, because God allowed them to be in the position of authority. So let's be sure that when we think about teams and we think about teamwork, let's be sure that God is in the center of that. Let's be sure that we're just part of the team and not trying to do it all on our own in our own flesh and power. But let's be sure we do it in the power of the Lord and make sure that He's the head of the team. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.